Hey everybody, coming up tonight on Now, we have another person joining the race for governor, this time a business owner, and he is live in studio answering your questions.
Also, do you have a lot of school student debt? The state of Maine is trying to find a way to maybe help with that. We'll give you some details.
Plus, we're talking to one woman who is very passionate about getting flame retardant furniture out of homes. Hear her tragic story.
This is News Center Now.
Protecting those who protect us. Hear how a woman who lost her husband to cancer is working to make Maine safer for firefighters.
And small business owner and former state senator Jim Boyle says he wants to be Maine's next governor. What do you want to know about his vision for our state? Post your questions now. Hello everybody, I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Amanda Hill. Firefighters we know risk their lives each time they run into a burning building. Tim Flaherty did it for 33 years as a member of the Portland Fire Department. And his wife Teresa says his job ended up costing him his life.
Yeah, so now she's working to protect future generations of firefighters from the more silent dangers that come with the job.
Another picture of he and I.
A day before what would be their 48th wedding anniversary.
We met in our sophomore years at Portland High School.
Teresa Flaherty looks through some of her favorite family photos.
I have a memory with all of them.
In frames and on the fridge, they helped decorate the house she and her husband Tim built 45 years ago.
This is my family.
A house full of memories, but no longer filled with Tim's footsteps.
When they told us he's got myelofibrosis, and we went, myelofibrosis, what is that?
A rare bone marrow cancer. Tim fought it for 6 years and died in 2011. His wife thought she knew the risks that came along with his job as a firefighter for the city of Portland. She worried each time he strapped on his gear. Tim survived every fire, but Teresa says what he didn't survive were the hidden effects of the flames.
The toxic chemicals that he was exposed to. Finally, yes, that's what caused his cancer. My husband died from cancer from the job.
A bill before the legislature aims to prevent that from happening to other families. LD 182 would ban the sale of furniture that contains flame retardant chemicals. Environmentalists backing the bill say flame retardants are toxic, and their presence in couches and love seats is leading to increased rates of certain types of cancer among firefighters. The bill has received strong bipartisan support, passing the House with a vote of 139 to 5 and the Senate 34 to 1. The bill will receive a final consideration on Thursday before heading to the governor's desk. Teresa plans to be in Augusta to help make sure it gets there.
If I can help and go up and speak from my heart for these firemen, because you know they're the firemen's brotherhood. And I'm still connected to that brotherhood.
Speaking up to protect the heroes that protect us, no questions asked. In Yarmouth, Jessica Gagne, News Center.
Now, the American Chemical Council says that flame retardants are a key component in reducing the devastating impact of fires on people, property, and the environment, and say that studies show that flame retardants provide an important layer of fire protection. They say that smoke, by its very nature, is extremely toxic, whether flame retardants are present or not.
The driver of an ambulance that crashed last week in Bodenham is apologizing for putting anyone at risk.
Yep. I wrecked an ambulance. Yep, I destroyed $200-some-odd-thousand worth of truck, and yeah, I had 2 people in this vehicle that I was responsible for that I failed. So.
We sat down with Paul Radigan, who's been a paramedic for a long time. He fell asleep behind the wheel of an ambulance on the way back from Maine Medical Center early Friday morning. Paul says he'd already worked 72 hours that week, picking up shifts at 2 other departments. He says he understands now just how dangerous that can be. Tomorrow, hear more from Paul and how the crash has changed his view on what's become an industry standard of overtime.
All right, shifting gears a little bit. Sticky, hot, humid. Seems like we're going to have a lot of that. So it's nice and cool inside.
Yeah.
So we can
keep
out.
Yeah, it's a little sticky. A little sticky out here for sure, especially in a dress shirt.
Even if you're not, though, dew points in the 70s in parts of Maine. That's sparking some showers and thunderstorms. Our radar showing them, particularly across the central part of the state. Not as much coverage as yesterday, which is what we thought would happen. A few of them down across southern Maine, starting to peter out as they come on the east side of Sebago Lake there towards 95. Probably not going to be a big deal, those thunderstorms, and a few showers up to 95 towards Richmond as well. To the north, these thunderstorms look more impressive in my opinion, coming out of Carrabassett Valley through Kingfield now and into Farmington on the south one. These probably have a little bit of at least small hail, non-severe, yes, but hail producing. Wide variety of temperatures, anywhere from 81 in Berlin to 65 in Rockland with a stiff sea breeze. We'll even those temperatures out here over the next couple of days, and most of us will get a whole lot warmer than we did today. We're talking upper 80s, guys. The humidity staying in place, so it is going to be extremely humid and hot for the next few.
All right, Casey, thank you very much. Here's something you definitely do not see every day, or really any day. It's a herd of buffalo on the loose in Guilford, New Hampshire. Police say they escaped the farm through a hole in the fence and have been roaming around town for most of the afternoon. So far, a few have been corralled, but some are still missing. Find me a home where the buffalo roam. All right, Amanda.
All right, thanks, Lee. Another candidate hitting the campaign trail, but first, he's joining us live in studio to answer your questions. Jim Boyle announced his run for the governor's office this morning. He's a former Democratic state senator and small business owner. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the small business owner aspect of this. As someone who's been in that field, if you became governor, are there any policies you'd look to change to kind of help businesses in Maine?
Well, first, I'd say the first thing I can say is I can relate to the small business owners that talk about regulations. In fact, what my company specializes in is environmental regulation. We help small businesses and other businesses and actually homeowners with the complexities of regulations at municipal, state, and federal level. And so I've made a career out of helping people deal with those kind of complex regulations. So I think going in, I could be taking a close look at those kinds of things and how we might be able to make life easier for people like me and others.
Is there too much red tape?
I'd say there's some adjustments that could be made. There's been some that have been tweaked, but I think everybody pretty much acknowledges that what we want to do is help small businesses and look out for the working people who need the jobs that small businesses can create.
We have a question from Joe. What do you think the biggest challenges facing Maine's next governor will be?
I think it will be trying to get back to where we used to be. When I first graduated from UMaine, I was a forestry graduate, and I got a job working in the North Maine woods as a paper company forester. It used to be that if you worked hard, you could make a good life for your family. And then I moved to Central Maine, worked for Central Maine Power in the environmental department. Things are still good, and then I started my own business. It seems like over the last 40 years or so, it's gotten a lot tougher for people that I work with all across the state, and people that I know, including my own family. I have family in Rumford and East Millinocket in those mill towns, and things are hard. So I want to get people back to a place where we used to be, where we have prosperity again, and we're not leaving behind the hardworking people of Maine.
That's a great segue into Larry's question. As our next governor, what will you do to help our paper industry thrive again?
Well, one point to make, and I know that there are struggles with particular aspects of newsprint, but that's what I'm saying. My family in East Millinocket has lived through that difficult, and Penobscot Valley, the 5 mills that have shut there. I had a cousin in the Bucksport mill. So the products that we do still sell, we have to continue to market and strengthen those product marketplaces and adjust those mills that survive, make the adjustments they are, such as what Sappy's doing. They're expanding. The tissue mill in Baileyville is expanding and growing, so we have to adjust to what the market is doing for us. And also, there, not to get in the weeds, but there are cross-laminated timbers are a growing market. There's biofuels. There's things like that. There's also opportunities in those same towns, not just for paper industry, but renewable. You could put solar installations at those mill sites that are already industrial sites. So there's a lot of renewable energy type things that we could be doing as well.
One of the toughest things you may come up against is name recognition. Obviously, we've got Janet Mills, Mary Mayhew, Mark Eves in the race. So we just had a question of what statewide experience would you bring to the table that these candidates don't necessarily bring?
Back to the small business. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a career politician. I've been out. I never ran for any office in my life till I was 54 years old. Served 2 years, and that was 4 years ago. So I think people are actually looking for somebody that's new from, I started my business with nothing, borrowed on my credit card, and I built it up. So I can relate to all the people that want to do that. That's where our jobs are going to come from, are the small businesses like the size of mine. I had an 8-person business when I sold it. That's pretty typical of Maine, and I think, and I did work from Kittery all the way to the Canadian border and all the way down east. So myself and my staff have worked all over Maine, been all over Maine, and so I really love the state, and I know a lot about what we can do.
All right, Jim Boyle, and you're going to stick around through the commercial break to answer
Sure.
some more questions.
Love to.
Lee?
But it's like history.
The governor is just starting to pick up speed, and the money is already pouring in. Adam Cody, a Democrat, raised almost $250,000 for his primary campaign so far. He has an additional $10,000 in the bank for the general election campaign. This is according to campaign finance reports. Former Department of Health and Human Services Commissioner Mary Mayhew drew in almost $80,000 for her Republican primary campaign and just over $11,000 for the general election. And Democrat Elizabeth Sweet has more than $20,000 in seed money, and Teresa Hayes, an independent, got about $7,500 in seed money. The other candidates have not yet filed a report. Darrell Steubenrod, a Republican, has withdrawn from the race.
Okay, we're about to head to break, but before we go, we want to get the conversation rolling about student loan forgiveness. The legislature is considering a bill that could help Mainers pay back millions of dollars in student loans. So we want to know, do you think the state should pay off some of Mainers' student loans?
If you want to be involved, go to pulse.newscentermaine.com or just open your mobile app and select the Pulse tab so you can vote. We'll tell you more about that bill coming up a little bit later on in the show. Also ahead, are you considering taking a vacation this year? Travel experts say this is the perfect day to get the low prices on airfare. I'll go check that out. We'll be right back.
This year's running of the TD Beach to Beacon 10K will be a little more special than those before.
Well, that's because this is the 20th year of the prestigious road race, and race founder Joan Benoit Samuelson won the gold medal in the 1984 Olympic Women's Marathon. That was the first year the Women's Marathon was part of the Olympic Games. Joni went on to win the Boston Marathon 2 times as well. Not bad for someone who kind of took up the sport of running by accident.
When I was growing up in Cape Elizabeth, my brothers were playing Little League baseball. There weren't any opportunities in sport for me, so I would hang out on the sidelines and hang over the fence, actually, hoping that when the teams were short a player in the middle of the summer that they might call me in, but they never did. So the 2 sports that were really available to me were skiing and tennis, at least at a competitive level. And when I broke my leg training for ski racing, I started to run as a form of rehab, and I could run right outside our back door and run to my heart's content, and a lot of those miles were done right here in Fort Williams. So I just found that running was affordable and accessible.
So ironically, a broken leg got you into running.
Yes, and I hope it doesn't get me out.
And we are so fired up about the 20th Beach to Beacon that we'll bring you a half-hour special on the Friday night before the race. On August 4th at 7 o'clock, it's Beach to Beacon, a 20-year run. Make sure you watch it right here on News Center. It's going to be awesome.
Hey, by the way, it's summer in Maine. It's when a lot of people take vacation time. You've got some vacation coming up.
I've got time. You're stuck with me for a little bit longer.
All right, all right. Travel experts say one day in August is the cheapest to fly. According to Fare Compare, airline ticket prices drop in late August, and the magic date for domestic airfare, August 22nd, which marks the start of the airline's fall season. If you fly on August 21st, that's the best day for overseas travel. They say you can save between 11 and 20% compared to summer ticket prices, so scoop those tickets up now.
All righty, I'll do that. I won't. Okay, coming up on now, we're talking about student loan forgiveness. Everybody wants to know about this. Maine legislators are considering covering some of those expenses for you. Do you think it's fair to the Maine taxpayer? Vote now on Pulse. We'll give you all the details when we come back.
This is why I can't afford to fly. And Keith promised us a warm-up yesterday. Is Mother Nature going to deliver? Oh, full forecast next on Now. Of us are chipping away at student loan debt, but what if you could just make some of that balance disappear?
There's a new bill in the legislature designed to offer relief to people who live and work in our state. Now, that money could come from tax dollars that you've already paid. Chris Costa joins us now. And all right, so this bill is obviously in the very early stages so far.
Yeah, it is. So that means there are a lot of specifics that still need to be worked out. But right now, LD 1163 would create a bond worth $100 million to help forgive some of your school debt as long as you live and work in Maine. Now, we want you to be involved in the conversation, so if you have not done it already, take out your smartphone or computer, go to pulse.newscentermaine.com on the web or on our mobile apps, and weigh in on this question. Should the state pay off some Mainers' student loan debt? This idea seems to appeal to more than just recent grads.
Cool, small or large?
Small business owners like Jake Bouchard, no student loan debt pain.
To have that gone, that anxiety, just to make that payment, because credit is huge, and you don't want to wreck that by not paying back your student loans.
Jake says he feels the pinch from the lack of young people working in Maine.
You're welcome.
And debt relief could encourage some to stay.
I need young people to work here, and if they're all leaving, it doesn't leave any options.
Maine Democrats say the average student loan debt for Maine graduates is nearly $30,000, the 14th highest in the nation.
We desperately need young people.
Senator Nate Libby, the Financial Association of Maine, and Governor LePage presented an amended version of the bill that would pay up to 15% of a person's debt each year.
Yeah, tighten the chest. Yeah, I'm the type of person that will pay it off if I need to. A little help would be good, but I'm here to work.
Amanda Smith is a healthcare professional and still has debt from her years of going to the University of New England.
It's a lot. It's a mortgage. It's over a mortgage.
She says she almost left the state in search of a higher paying job to tackle her loans.
Everything's increasing, but you're not getting paid more. These days, sometimes even a bachelor's degree is not enough, and then people are taking more loan debt because in order to make more money, you need more education. I think this is more of an incentive for a lot of kids getting out of school.
Many people disagree with the concept. Michael says, don't pay more for a year of school than what you will earn in the job you're training for. Marie says, why should taxpayers help pay off student loans? Nobody pays my bills every month.
If we can keep people, good people, in our state, we should do anything we can to make that happen.
Now, the bill is set to go in front of the Appropriations Committee this week. As of right now, Democrats say you do not have to have gone to college in Maine. You just need to have lived here for at least 5 years, and you need to be employed here. Now, again, the details are still preliminary. Many of those qualifications that we just talked about could completely change once it goes in front of the Appropriations Committee and then the Financial Authority of Maine, or Association.
Well, this bill, as you just talked about, still has a long way to go. Lots of hoops to jump through before we could even make it on the ballot. But some of you guys have questions about this already.
Yeah, Scott commented on my Facebook page asking, so does this bill do anything for graduates from the past 20 years? Or is this just about keeping new grads in Maine? So we asked the bill's sponsor.
Well, he says the eligibility requirements will be hammered out in the legislature and by the finance authority of our state. But in the current proposal, eligible applicants must have made their first loan payment no earlier than January 1st of 2008.
Thanks for asking that question. If you live in Waldoboro, did you notice anything strange last night?
Well, Jessica says she felt her house shaking. Sent us a message on Facebook asking whether or not there was any seismic activity in the area.
According to her, several neighbors felt the rumbling. So, Keith, earthquake in Waldoboro?
1.7. It's interesting. We've talked about this before. 1.7 is, it's on the edge of being noticeable. We've had some reports when it's been a 1.4. We've gone back and looked, and it's there. And technically, it shouldn't even be discernible. You shouldn't even be able to tell. But I think it has to do with the fact that there isn't a bunch of distracting noise in Maine that you would confuse an earthquake with.
Okay.
So the technical scale is 1.7 and below is supposed to be imperceptible to humans. But many times Mainers have proved me wrong and said, hey, I heard this last night. I go back and look, and it's there.
We're just a sensitive breed. You know?
Yeah, no, I'm sure it has to have something to do with it just being quieter in general. Yeah, so you notice it. A little close, right, guys? That's the term that we're...
Close.
Is this not, you're not in for
meaning humid.
Not in? I like it. Look at that. That's as close as can be.
Soupy.
The Four River is back there somewhere. Just can't see it. this point. Thunderstorms is popping out there as well, as you can see across the central part of the state particularly. Let's start where they're kind of dying out just north of Falmouth here in through Yarmouth. A couple of showers and storms still trying to make their way through. And as you can see from that camera, fog rolling back on shore. It's been flirting back and forth with the coastline for a while. A couple of storms up here too towards Farmington. This one has some lightning. This, by the way, is not a thunderstorm. It's a wind farm being picked up on the radar. Look at these dew points. Oh, 70, 70, 71. Very Louisiana air that we have in place. We will for the next couple of days. Now tomorrow we start with some fog, as we've been doing over the mid-coast and down East Maine. We take a while to burn that off, but once we do, it's hot and humid. 88 in Freiburg, 84 in Lewiston here around 3:30. An isolated shower, but I think most of us stay dry. Same deal on Thursday. Another hot and humid day with morning fog, an isolated shower in the afternoon, but again, most of us stay dry. High temperatures, I've overridden the computer models a bit on this. It was spitting out some low numbers, and I just don't think it understands how warm it's going to be. So I've got 88 in Sanford, 89 in Freiburg, 87 in Lewiston, 83 in Portland. If you don't like the heat, Rockland, Bar Harbor, Lubec, and into Eastport. That's where you want to be at. So we stay gross the next couple of days, then down to just sticky, and then normal. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Overall, I like this stretch of weather. Yes, it's humid, but it's just classic summer kind of weather. We see a decent weekend overall. I actually took out any chances of showers along the coastline through Saturday afternoon. Late rain on Sunday, but most of Sunday is good. And I know, Amanda, you're doing the Clam Fest. You got the Clam Fest Saturday. Lee's got Sunday.
Diaper Derby,
what time is
Sunday?
The Derby?
Noon.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Greatest sporting
Clam
event
shucking at
in
11
our state.
Saturday.
And also stay classy.
It gets ugly.
Yeah.
It gets
You guys
ugly.
were just competing. You didn't get the reference. That's okay. I'll tell you in the break.
Okay. All right, we'll be right back.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right, kids, we've been asking you to weigh in on student debt relief, and here's what you've had to say.
Yeah, we're pretty close here. No way, 53%. So more people say, no, we should not pay.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Keith, what do you got for us today?
All right. Today's brain drops. You ever heard of heat lightning?
Yes.
Not a thing, as it turns
I see
out.
it all the time.
Not a thing.
Come on.
So the idea of heat lightning is that you see lightning in the distance, but there's no thunder associated with that, right? Well, there's no such thing as lightning that doesn't produce thunder, because the thunder is produced by the thermal expansion of the lightning heating up the air around it. So what you're actually seeing is lightning that's so far away that the light can travel to your eye, but the sound wave gets caught, if you will, in the atmosphere before it can get to your ears. So it gets kind of attenuated on the way. So you're seeing that lightning from a distance, and the thunder's there, but you just can't hear it. And of course, it became heat lightning because it would happen during the summer on a hot, humid night like tonight, but it's actually just a distant thunderstorm. You can see lightning from 100 miles away. You can only hear it by about 10 to 12 miles.
Heat lightning
Interesting.
is not a
Heat
thing.
lightning, not a
Oh,
thing.
mind blown. Brain dropped.
News Center at 5:30 starts right now.